Hello, everyone. You're listening to a Coffees with Toffees podcast. I will be your host, Flubb, and this is the Flupdate. It's funny, I already slipped up right there, and this is the 10th episode. It's funny that we've already gone through 10 episodes of the show, and it's been a lot of fun. So let's make this episode the greatest episode, and let's keep going with this energy. First off, we have plenty of different topics. I want to talk about the Kiev qualifiers. I want to give you guys a little bit of background on what you can do to help yourselves maybe get to the majors at some point. I'd also like to talk about the MMR change-ups. We're going to talk about that. And we're going to talk about Jenkins. He went with a new pooling trick that I want to talk to you guys about. Obviously, the Flubb question of the week. And we are also going to talk about something else if we have time. There's kind of a thing that's been popping up on Reddit and social media in general, kind of a drama-filled thing, and I kind of generally want to stay away from that. But if we have time, I'm going to talk about it tonight and kind of give you my 2 cents on it. Hopefully, calm some people down about the whole situation. So first off, let's talk about the important stuff. The reasons why we're here to listen, the reasons why we're here to play, is to get better at Dota. And I want to talk about the Kiev qualifiers first and foremost, because that's what we're trying to do. We want to try to get to that $1 million prize pool, right? We want to get that money to play Dota. Everyone wants that. So first off, if you guys are unaware and you guys haven't been keeping up, the first chance that we get is actually going to be coming up this week on Monday. And the first qualifiers go from Monday and then take a break and go on Wednesday for the second day. And then there's a second chance that goes Tuesday and Thursday. Generally, these times are designated to a 1 p.m. to 6 p.m. type area for each respected region. It's kind of more based on like 4 to 6, but for the US, obviously, it has such a big wide spread that you kind of have to keep that area in general for going back and forth like that in that time. But it's going to basically be in the afternoon for those of you who are able to take off work or school. I don't necessarily suggest that. School first, work first. But if you can and you are a great team, then I obviously go for it. Even if you're not a great team, if you have time, these are really fun, great learning experiences. So you should definitely try them out for yourself. I've been a part of a few of them myself with different teams of mine, and they've been a lot of fun. And they make you learn a lot of things that you generally wouldn't get in a normal scenario. You face people that hopefully you wouldn't face on your normal average day of playing a pub. So it's a really great experience, and I suggest you try out some of your cooler drafts and your cooler ideas in general. So now that we've kind of talked about that and we've kind of let you guys know about it, I want to talk about, well, actually, the first thing before I forget is there's a subs. There's no subs going to be allowed in this tournament. In the past, there was a couple subs that were allowed. You had like 2 that you could generally run, but there's actually all for both days, whichever chance you want to go into, you have to have all 5 players for every match. And generally, the matches switch and rotate pretty quickly. You have like a 15-minute grace time. So be prepared to play a lot of Dota in one sitting if you're going to do this. If you're not, you can always bow out at some point and just a fun experience in general. So I kind of want to talk to you guys about what's been popular lately and kind of give you some insight on maybe ideas that you guys can pick or ban for this future tournament and kind of get you guys that leg up on the other competition around you. So something that's been really popular in the pro scenes in general, they came out with this list of different things that have been more successful, things that people have been picking and banning. Generally, what pros are keeping into a more concentrated focus on these heroes. So the big jumps are Nyx, Storm, and Invoker have gotten a 20% increase on pick and ban, which is a very big increase and makes a lot of sense with what's the future data goes into. But there's a lot of potential there for those kind of initiation style, those guys that kind of interrupt their back line. The the next the truly biggest jumps are the centaur and the warlock. Centaur and warlock got a 30% bump in their pick and ban rate. That's incredible, one, and it makes a lot of sense because Centaur is an incredible initiator, can be all around the map to do his ultimate, creates a lot of space in general, great laner. Warlock is very important to the team fight that's so popular today. Having that ability to drop rock, all of his abilities doing any type of AoE just makes him stronger than ever. And it's actually kind of a surprise that it wasn't popular in the weeks before, and it's gotten more popular recently because the meta hasn't changed that much. I feel in the patches from 0.1, 0.2, and all on so forth. The thing is mostly what's changed is the Shadow Demon and Luna combination, which is actually represented in the stats right now. Weaver, Darkseer, and Shadow Demon are all down negative 20% or more. And it makes a lot of sense in this scenario because Darkseer actually has a lot of guys that kind of interrupt what he does. And the Wombo combo isn't quite as important, especially if you have a Warlock that sets you up and that you're going to receive that damage anyway in the area of effect. So you don't need to group everyone together, and it relies less on people being out of position so much because that's kind of how Darkseer operates, and people are getting better and better at being able to counteract that movement. The the next biggest thing is that Luna, Dazzle, and Underlord are all a little under 20%, but that's pretty much they around 20% almost for a lowered amount of pick ban rate. And the reason is like Luna Shadow Demon, they're just not as strong as they once were, and that combination of that slow push just isn't as available as it once was. Dazzle makes a lot of sense that those people that can go onto the back lines create a lot of havoc, keep you locked out of the fight, kill you really quickly before you get your shallow grave off. Makes a whole lot of sense why he's getting picked up less. The Underlord makes a lot of sense as well because people are starting to figure out how the hero works and finding very keen ways on taking him out. And it makes sense with the two most popular picks that have been for a while, Syllabear and Slardar. Those are the biggest two ban pick rate heroes. And the reason why those two are so huge is because obviously if you put it on Underlord, if you put the amplify damage or now called corrosive haze onto him, he goes down super fast, takes a lot more damage. You can just keep him out of the fight, and if you can keep him out of the fight, then there goes their disengage and a lot of their potential staying capability to just stay alive in general. So it makes a lot of sense why that happens, and it's something that maybe you want to consider not to pick up him because people are generally finding ways to counteract what he does now. Some people that I found that are of noteworthy in my pubs in general, and I feel like in teams that I have noticed big jumps with, they aren't quite as big a percentages as the other ones. They're somewhere around 10 to 15, but these heroes are a pretty big deal, and I feel like in this tournament, either in the beginning of the Kiev majors or in these qualifiers, these three heroes are going to be pretty important. Lifestealer, outworld devourer, and keeper of the light. Lifestealer is crazy good right now. He has a lot of potential, a lot of ways to keep people out of farm. That's kind of one of the reasons why Outworld, not Outworld, but Underlord kind of had that potential of having a problem because he could just heal the damage off of it. Yes, he did less damage, but Feast also helps the amount of damage that he deals, and he kind of just like hits like a train. So it's really hard to take out someone like that and keep him down, especially who can make himself magic immune. The other guy, Outworld Devourer, a lot of ability to keep people alive, having that save with that all that crazy amounts of damage that kind of bursts through what's normally there. It's not surprising that he is being seen more. He's kind of ever since the changes to him, he's had a lot of different changes, a lot of different things that are really strong. He has some good talents in general, so it makes sense why he's getting the love that he receives. And then Keeper of the Light. Keeper of the Light is in a really good position right now with his mana leak, keeping people locked down. Just the amount of team fight presence that he has, especially at his level 25, giving that heal and nuke damage buff to him that just generally really helps the team fight whenever you have a big ultimate, well, not ultimate, but when you have your ultimate stick or Aghanim Scepter to blast down your team, giving you giant health back, swaths of health, and doing lots of damage at the same time. So he's also someone who can farm as a support. He can stack jungles and farm, get a lot of potential from there, and has the ability not only for team fights but also for split pushing by moving people from side lanes and things like that. So he has a lot to offer. I mean, obviously that's what the hero is about, but the punishment for keeping him locked down isn't there unless you can get the Nyx and Storm, and that's kind of why he's been shut down. Is that Nyx and Storm really punish Akatl. But if you can get those two out of the fight, really Invoker has a tough time versus him, and a lot of the people that are popular right now have a tough time versus him. The only guys that are really doing well are Lifestealer, Nyx, and Storm, in my opinion. And if the Keeper Light is really good, he can see them beforehand and mana leak, and then it's just a super problem. So keep that in mind. Maybe to do some drafts around that. I would definitely keep all those heroes locked up. Keep a list somewhere as you're going through the tournament and figure out what's best for you and your team. All right, next I want to get into the Mmr Change that Valve has been instituted on Friday, and kind of what it means for you and what your friends and everything like that. So what they're doing is they took the MMR that for your party, they took that MMR and they said, all right, well, the people aren't really considering this as that important anymore. So we're going to take that away and see how it affects what people are complaining about in general, because a lot of times people would get into solo matches and their whole complaining about, oh, I faced a party of two and they didn't take it seriously because no one takes party MMR seriously, and kind of going on from there and ruining games. So now no one can really complain about that over these next few days, and it's only temporary, and they're going to like do some changes to it from this point. And they took away the party ranked, but now they gave all pick on unranked the same banning and picking phase, which is good, and it's something that needed to be there in general. I'm actually kind of confused why they didn't do that in the first place. Maybe because they just didn't want like people to ban techies constantly, and then people just not have their favorite hero able to play. I can kind of understand that, especially going into an unranked type situation where you'd want to be able to play that. Thing is, though, is when I look at this and I see what they're doing, I feel like they're kind of doing things in a weird way that I actually wouldn't do. And here's what I would do if I were them. I feel like the solo MMR, if you combine the two MMRs together, it would kind of ruin what a lot of people have worked on, because there's kind of a situation where a lot of people are worried about the whole aspect of going, basically people carrying others. And it's something that actually happens in CSGO and in Overwatch. I play Overwatch quite often, and there's a lot of times people that are like barely out of like diamond level or like the good levels, they will try to they'll like send out messages or like, I'm boosting right now. If anyone wants help to boost their account, then message me here. And it's kind of like a thing that Dota, luckily, I mean, you can boost people still, but it's much harder and it takes a lot longer routes and things like that. So it's not as prevalent. The thing is that if you combine them together, it's a little bit more reflective of what the person is, because this is a team game, and I would generally like us to use our teammates and use what we generally know together to work to beat the team. Yes, it says something as a solo MMR to be able to get random people to work together, and that's something that I kind of a skill that I love, that I enjoyed, that I'm able to learn from Dota. The thing is, though, is that not everyone wants that to be. They want people to take it seriously before that happens. So they don't want to have to cater to every type of individual and personality that exists in the world, because there's plenty of them that people don't want to deal with. And that's why you have friends, and that's why you team up, and that's why certain theories and jobs and everything, you go down certain paths that make sense for you as a person. So what I would suggest is instead of combining them together or getting rid of party because people are upset about that and they do not want that at all, which is understandable. I'm kind of on that boat, not so much. I still like the party rank. The thing is, what I would want to do is instead of having a solo rank and a party rank, and the party rank be any party of any size, why not just make it 5 people only? Like you can only go ranked with 5 people. I think it'd be a lot more precise and dignified to be set up that way. And yes, it's harder to have 5 people get on. Trust me, I'm in 4 stacks all the time. We're always looking for a fifth, and then we're just like, ah, screw it, we're going to go on anyway. If you're thinking about it, people would complain about that anyway, and they took out 4 stacks a long time ago from going into ranked anyway. So that's not a problem. It's for the 3 and 2 stacks. And if you're in a 3 or a 2 stack, yeah, that kind of sucks. But at the same time, you kind of need to respect that maybe if you're in a 2 stack or a 3 stack, you should be playing unranked and trying to do something together to learn something in a better way, or being able to form a stack some way better, or find more people of your like-minded styles. I also think that they should change the amount of MMR that you can have as an expanded area. Like I hate that you can be 2000 MMR difference. That's like it's really nice for some of my friends, but at the same time, that is just way too big of a difference. If it was like 1,000, maybe even 500, it would maybe convince people to try to get to certain points, do certain things together. That being said, if you did a system like this, you'd have to recalibrate everyone pretty much from the very beginning, and that would cause mass panic, and people would hate that. So there's not really. It's kind of like we screw the pooch at this point, and they're trying to do different things, and no one's going to be happy at the end of it. Not everyone's going to be happy. There's going to be some people that are happy with the results. I just feel like it's it's kind of we've made our bed the past like 6 years, and now we got to like sleep in it, and this is the best way without people taking advantage of the system at this point. It's kind of sucks as a system, but it's what we had. It's what we got. So, but to get on to more happy news, more better news, some more interesting stuff. I learned a new trick from Jenkins again. Jenkins has been doing tricks about pooling in general. He did a great video for Pudge for pooling that I was mentioning before. He now has a video for pooling with batrider. And it's been pretty interesting, and I tried it out in practice mode. It works pretty well. I haven't tried it out in an actual game yet, but in theory it sounds like it makes a lot of sense, and I'm very excited to try this out. So what you do is you get a batrider, and it has to be on the dire side, and it's on the dire side off lane where there's the camp that's super close, and you have to get a quelling blade to cut down the trees. Quelling blade. I think I said that wrong. Sorry. So you cut down the trees, and you make a path for the creeps to go up all the way to the edge of the cliff, and you flame break them off at the very edge, allowing them to then go over into the lane and kind of pull the creeps that way. You don't attack the creep as it's coming up because it can die a lot of times, but you can do it with pretty much every creep camp except the troll. You can't do it with trolls, but then you can stack it and do it that way. And it's more about kind of getting your offlane the ability to have the chance to deny a whole creep wave and keep the creep wave basically at their tower, getting them a lot more farm out of it. But if you can do it with one creep wave, you can hit level 2, get sticky napalm up someone down at bottom, and kind of use your blast to keep them in place and do damage. And really, if you're using all your mana to do that anyway, with a level 3 guy by the time he gets there and you're level 2, that's a big bump, and you should be able to kill someone, especially if you have like a centaur or a slaughter or something that's just a lot of potential in lane to kind of punish these lower supports that are there. And then after that aggressive move, you will probably get another level, and then you can kind of go into the jungle at that point, having one level of the flame tail, and the sticky napalm. And from there, you can, kind of move the game in your pattern. Kind of makes Batrider like a successful 4. So something interesting and fun that I encourage you to try. I'm definitely going to leave the link down at the bottom of the video so that you guys can check it out, see what you have to think, and see hopefully it's as successful for you as it is for me. So then lastly, I want to talk about the whole flub question of the week, and it comes from Tim Kaninsky again. Tim, you're always asking great questions. Keep it up, man. I'll keep maybe just make this the Tim question of the week. But anyway, the question that you asked was, what are some efficient strategies for breaking high ground? And you kind of went more into it, but that's kind of like the lower down version of it. And this is a really good question because this meta is so strong, or was so strong with Pudge and Sniper and all these guys that had these abilities that just punished people going into high ground. And it makes a lot of sense that you're having a lot of trouble in that area because it's a lot of team fight, and if you make one false move at the tier 3, it's kind of all these guys with massive AoE team fights that control you and just can blow up all 5 of you in the wrong step. And that's kind of the most efficient way to break high ground, in my opinion, is understanding your limitations on what your hero that you're playing and spacing yourself correctly. A lot of times, a big problem that has always existed is when the supports get overzealous or into a situation that they think they need to dive in and save someone, and then there's a giant AoE on them and everyone else that rush in to save someone. If you save your distance and keep people at the respectable distance that they're supposed to be to save them, then you should be fine and keep well alive. A lot of times, a lot of problems that I see on Dazzle, especially, is a hero that I've been loving to play lately, and I think that, I mean, obviously the pros have been playing him a little bit less, but he's very strong still. And if you're not going up against the Nyxes and the Storms, he's still very, very valuable. And the biggest problem I see on Dazzles are the Dazzles that never pick up levels into your Shallow Grave. Shallow Grave level 1 is awful. It's almost like you shouldn't even have it, because if you have Shallow Grave level 1, then you are pretty much in the distance that they could just rotate onto you, and if you're ever in the distance as a Dazzle of being attacked, then it's not really going to be helpful to you as a player. So if you can ever be a support that's kind of in the back and try to space yourself evenly, that's the best way to generally help your team out. And it also takes the cores, they have to be able to trust that you will do your position and go onto that offensive high ground position and slowly take that tower. That's why illusions were so crazy for a while, because you didn't have to have any of that teamwork to break high ground and slowly push down those towers. And that's why I complained about it forever, and especially with a hero like Luna, who's, once you get that tower down, then the barracks like just falls immediately after, because her glaives bounce to everything like dominoes, and just everything just boom, 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 like machine gun fire. And that's kind of how you want to break high ground. You want to try to keep your unit together in a strong, concise manner. And if you're going up against like a Pudge or something, then it's almost better to have a situation where you can all move together, like with a centaur, like rush in, pick off one person or two people. Don't go beyond the. I would not go beyond the shrines that they have, because if you go beyond the shrines, then you're going past the tier 4s. And if you go past the tier 4s, then you're right next to well, and you're gonna die pretty much no matter what, because then a buyback can just instantly kill you. So you kind of want to push people away from the fight, but not get further into their base. And that's a big problem with a lot of people. So you either want to push people away, have good positioning, or use other alternative means like illusions or centaur, just man moding it, a tower with having super amounts of strength and just having that return damage. Things that kind of offer a nuance to kind of going after the tower. Not sacrificial, but putting up some slight damage. Not too risky. Obviously, the last thing that's very important is getting the Aegis. A lot of people look over that fact sometime, but getting an Aegis kind of means that you can go on high ground because you have that extra life. So I hope that helped you. And I will have to close out the show now. I know I said I was going to talk about some other things possibly, but the show ran a little long. I kind of felt like it would. And who wants to learn about drama stuff anyway? So, whatever. It's cool. So we're going to close out the show. If you guys would like to subscribe or like any of our videos, it'd be a huge help. As always, I would really appreciate it. You can follow us at our Twitch channel. Our Twitch channel is twitch.tv/Toffees_Dota2. You can always go to our YouTube channel, and our YouTube channel is 5 Minus Gaming. Or you can, if you're feeling extremely generous, you can go to our Patreon and go to our Patreon at www.patreon.com/Toffees. If you have any questions for me or for Toffees, you can follow Toffees at Toffees TV for his Twitter account. And my Twitter account, you can follow me at Flubdota. And if you have any questions that you want to ask me for the Flupdate, if you have anything that you generally are interested about, or you just want to talk strategy with me, send me a message at my email or tweet me. So you can tweet me at the one before, or you can send a message to crazyflub@gmail.com. So you guys have now been updated, and I hope that I was able to shed some light on what you have maybe missed out this past week. You guys have a good week, and I'll catch you tomorrow or next week if you guys are only here for the Flupdate. See you later.